Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Steam Whistle. This is Daniel, and I run the Ramble page. And first, before I introduce my guest, I would like to thank everyone for the support of the prior episode with me and Bill Curry. Obviously, that was a big deal for me and this page, and I appreciate the support that came from that. Now, on to my guest. He is a YouTuber who exclusively talks about college football. I've known him since before he was a YouTuber. I've known him for 4 years now. He's an Ohio State fan, but he is very knowledgeable about the game of college football and sports in general. And welcome, Red5478, to the show. I'll just call him Red. I'm sure you're fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be preferable. I mean, you don't need to sit damn numbers in there, so that's all good there.
But yeah, thank you for coming on.
Oh, dude, it's a pleasure to talk to you whenever we get the chance, and I'm glad we're getting to do this in a audio format like this. I've not really had too many chances where I've done any sort of like interview type thing or whatever, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you. So first, I've described you as like urinating tree, but more like exclusive to college football. But for people who don't really know about your content, like maybe describe yourself a little bit.
Sure. So the description on my YouTube channel kind of says it all. I am comparable to Urinating Tree, but I kind of do it my own way. I borrow some of his stuff, ideas, and I've actually also worked with Urinating Tree on a video of mine in the past where we talked about the college football playoff. But yeah, the way I kind of go about it is I am an absolute cynical, what's the word for it? Don't want to say what I normally say. I'm just a cynical guy when it comes to college football. I'm very blunt. I kind of tell it how it is, like it is, how I see it, and I don't really care what people think about it at the end of the day, especially when it comes to the current landscape of college football. We can look back on the past with rose-tinted glasses from time to time. I don't keep those. I rip those suckers right off, and I just tell you how it is with this stuff. And like recently, like as we're recording this video, I just got done absolutely demolishing Ohio State during the 1990s. That just dropped the night that we're recording this interview. So it's great. The Ohio State's almost era is what it's called. And it was a lot of fun. We did the live chat with subscribers. The channel just passed 4,000 subscribers as well, so it's starting to really grow.
Congratulations.
I'm very excited about that. Thank you, Dan. And, I mean, all I do, like, the way I kind of operate the channel is I will do your occasional 1 hour long, like, full-on breakdown. The guys kind of call it Legacy of Failure. I don't call it that because that's what Urinating Tree calls it. My way is called Story Time with Red. I'm telling you the story of what happened with this team during this period, whether it's their entire history or a segment of time. For example, Ohio State, I talked about the John Cooper years. Notre Dame, I talked about every single year until last season, from the last time they won the national championship with Lou Holtz. Wisconsin, Oregon, West Virginia, entire histories. And we kind of go back and forth like that. And then we also do stuff during the regular season. I did an entire soap opera drama about Florida State last year, for exsample.
Which was hilarious.
Caps of the, I know. It was taxing, but it was fun. And I also did a couple of weekly videos that went over up and coming stuff during the regular season previews, bowl previews, reaction videos, the kind of a little bit of everything at that point. So that's kind of the summary of it.
Yes. I'm interested to sit, and I'll watch after this. I'm interested to see that new video of yours because were you growing up? I don't know exactly how old you are, but was that when you were like growing up as a kid, 90s?
I'm not afraid to say it, man. I just turned 30 in February. I was born in 95.
Okay.
So I started watching Buckeye football at the very end of the John Cooper era. I remember watching bits and pieces of the Outback Bowl in 2000, but I didn't really start getting full-on memories of Ohio State until 2001, 2002, right as the Jim Tressel era really began. So I grew up on Jim Tressel ball. I didn't grow up on John Cooper football, and thank God I did it because it was brutal watch to go back and look at all that history that happened there. And I mean, outside of, one or two nice bowl wins that he had, he really didn't do a whole lot of anything besides beat the guys he was supposed to beat, except the times he did when the team was Michigan or some other good team.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is a tech channel, but the expectations at Ohio State, I get that they're high, and from what I've heard, there were times where they were like ranked number 2 or 3 or whatever going into the Michigan game, and I've heard that they would lose to Michigan or lose to someone they really weren't supposed to lose to. So there's kind of like kind of like Miami post 2002. Ohio State was, at least from what I've heard.
Yeah. I think that's a good way of putting it. I mean, you talk about that. I think the most famous of the losses during the John Cooper era, I think it's up there between 1992's loss to Michigan or 1995's loss to Michigan. I'm going to just reference 95's loss to Michigan when Ohio State came into the game undefeated, number 2 in the nation. They couldn't lock up the Big Ten championship yet until they beat Michigan. They ended up getting absolutely demolished by Michigan. Tim Biakabatuka, the running back for Michigan Wolverines that day, himself ran for 319 yards, I think it was, and just they torched him. Wow. And that was when Ohio State had Eddie George at running back.
That's what I was going to ask, because I know Eddie George was on them in the 90s, and I remember there was a year... He didn't win the Heisman, did he? I think he went to New York at least, didn't he?
No, Eddie George won the Heisman.
Okay, he won the Heisman.
That they lost to Michigan as number 2 in the nation. It was that season. That's how bad. We wasted his career.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of how Tech is with Calvin Johnson, in that really, I mean, I won't, we made a bowl every year we had him, which you better if you have Calvin Johnson on your team. But our best year, we started, I think, 9-2, 2006, and then they lost 3 straight. They lost to Georgia by 1 score. They lost the ACC championship to Wake Forest. That was when Jim Grobe was at Wake. And then they lost the Gator Bowl, I think, to West Virginia. So I know how it feels, and Tech fans know how it feels to kind of waste, one of your best players' careers. In fact, I don't think Calvin ever beat Georgia. It wasn't until
it wouldn't surprise me.
It wasn't until afterwards when Paul came that Tech started kind of beating Georgia again, or kind of being more competitive with them at least.
I find it fascinating when you make the comparison between Georgia Tech and Ohio State, because it's not like Georgia Tech is a squabbling mid-carder. They have a couple of national champions. I mean, you have the actual Coach Heisman in your school's history that helps build the program. I mean, Georgia Tech has a very decorated football history if you go back and look at it. It's just that there were times when the school did not take the athletics side as seriously as their peers did. And that's kind of a common trend with a lot of schools that are where they are right now. Because at the end of the day, they're educational institutions. They're not pro football programs. Mm-hmm. They're not the only people there. It's a school that also happens to have a very popular football program among other athletic programs. And because of that, conflicts of interest when it comes to education and athletics and how much was too much, it kind of helped to derail Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech specifically, I think also, you got to remember, they were kind of a little wishy-washy. They left the SEC. They were independent, and then they went to the ACC at one point, and it was kind of like, I think I got that right. Did I get that right?
Yeah,
they were in the SEC, independent, then ACC. Right. And then... they were kind of just jumbled around a little bit due to, I think it was like some sort of fucking, excuse me. I told, for those of you listening, I promised Dan I wouldn't swear. When you go to my YouTube channel, I swear like a sailor. So
be patient. Yeah. It's good. You're good.
So I'll do my very best to be a good boy. But suffice it to say, it was Georgia Tech. They got a rich football history. They just don't have it nearly the same success as Ohio State.
Yeah, and then also, what's funny is we're like Auburn but like, I don't know how to say. Part of me wants to say Auburn, but like more chaotic. But then you consider what the swings Auburn has had in a single, like even single season wise. But I think Auburn's a good comparison just because Auburn's, they're less of a smart school than we are, but in the state of Alabama, they're the smart school. They're a great engineering school. And then also, they've had great highs, they've had terrible lows, and Tech has had great highs and terrible lows. In fact,
easily.
The 80s and 90s for Tech were just so chaotic. I'm happy I wasn't around during that then, because you would just have crazy, ridiculous swings of momentum. And then, and thankfully, for most of my lifetime, we've been more stable, I would say. The only time it's really been up and down, I would say, was the late stages of Paul Johnson. And then, of course, Collins was terrible. Just awful. No words cannot describe how just inept the Jeff Collins years were. It was brutal.
Let's look to more positive times, right? Like, look at Georgia Tech now.
Yeah.
Y'all are really, I don't know if we're jumping ahead on what you had in mind here, but I do just want to say this off the bat. I really like how Georgia Tech's going to look this year.
I do too.
I really like their chances.
This is the most excited I've been for a season in, I don't know, maybe 2017, 2018. And even those years, I think they kind of underperformed a little bit. And I hope this team doesn't. I'm mentally preparing myself for them to, because we are Georgia Tech and things happen. But I do think that, it depends on if everyone's healthy. Last year we lost Haynes King for a couple weeks mid-season, and we kind of slumped during that time when we played, I think, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech when he was out, and we lost both of them. But I think if he's healthy, and then if Jamal Haynes is healthy as well, because Jamal got banged up a little bit too, not as bad as Haynes King did. He was able to play all the games, but when Jamal's 100%, he might be one of the best backs in the ACC. I'm not saying he's one of the best backs. I'm not saying he's one of the best backs in the country, because you got Jeremiah Love, and you got the other guys across the country that are better. But Jamal Haynes is just, and what's funny about Jamal is he was originally a wide receiver. And it wasn't until 23 that he moved to running back. But when you look at his size and you look at his stature, it's like, why on earth would you be playing wide receiver? He is the perfect running back body. Like, if you look at him, you're like, that is a running back. And he's amazing. Yeah. He's one of the few players that has openly made me stand up and well, I know I told you not to curse, but he's one of the few players who has made a play that made me stand up and say, oh, SH at a game, and not from an opposing team. But I'm excited.
You guys got every freaking reason to be excited. You look at Georgia Tech as a whole. You have one of the best recruiting classes coming in a long time. Not that it means as much anymore, but you also were able to not only retain the guys you have, but you pretty much have about the same guys you did last year in terms of key impact players. We talked about Haynes King. We talked about Jamal Haynes. You got Malik Rutherford coming back in.
Yes.
The only area that concerns me, and this is the only, and that's just because I'm an offensive lineman and I played in college. I played college football for Division III Wilmington College, the Ohio Athletic Conference. For those of you that are curious, it's the O-line. One returning starter. You got four other guys in there that are, two returning starters. It was Fusili and Rutledge you got coming back, and then it's new guys coming in, not like freshmen or anything like that. There's experience there, but still, that's really the only area. But I really love what Coach Key has done with the Jackets. The way they started off the season last year, knocking off Florida State and Ireland, really sent a message to the rest of the ACC, oh, they're not going to be an easy win. And sure enough, they weren't. They rarely lost badly, I would say, last year.
I think the only time we really lost in embarrassing fashion, not close. You could argue that Georgia was embarrassing, and to an extent it was, although I was still...
No. I wouldn't say Georgia was embarrassing at all. Y'all went toe-to-toe with the Bulldogs in Athens on their home turf, gave them everything y'all had, and it literally just came down to who could throw the strongest punch at the end of 8 overtimes.
Yeah, but
I'm
more.
sorry.
Sorry,
When
when I think of blown leads, I think of embarrassment. Maybe living in Atlanta makes me do that. But
maybe.
but I would say besides that, Louisville, we were with them until I'd say the kind of 5 minutes left. They had a blocked kick return for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say Notre Dame is easily the only time that I would say we really got beat.
Yeah, I would say so.
I
would agree there.
I knew they were going to be a good, like, I picked them to go pretty far in the playoffs, if I remember. But I remember after the game, one, I saw Notre Dame and just the way they blocked and how big their guys were. I was like, holy crap. Like, I hadn't seen linemen that big since the Jordan Davis team at Georgia, 21-22.
Yeah, they know how to get their big boys. They know how to eat.
And it was just like, oh my goodness. And I knew when UGA matched up with them, I'm like, okay, if Notre Dame plays with the same fire we did against them, they have the men. Georgia might be in trouble. And, that ended up happening. But, yeah, I'm happy with staying on topic. I know I went a little off there, but I'm happy with what Coach Key has done. And it's happened fast. Like, after Collins, a lot of people thought this rebuild would take forever. But then I will give Collins one thing in credit. He had Coach Key on his staff, and if it wasn't for Coach Collins, Coach Key just kind of fell into our laps as interim, beat Pittsburgh, who was ranked in his first game as interim, and that kind of showed us how bad Collins really was, because it's like, dang, we went from losing to UCF to beating a ranked team on the road within the span of like a week. And
yeah, I mean, sometimes, man, all it really takes for a team to turn it around is just to get a different style of playbook. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take much. If an assistant coach comes in after a head coach is fired, it's an opportunity, because that next game with the interim coach will always tell you, was it really that coach's fault they were bad, or was it more like the team is just bad? And he proved in that game against Pitt, like you mentioned, that no, Collins was just a bad coach.
Yeah.
And either it was a bad coach or it was a bad fit for that coach. But the players on Tech were good. And it shows, because, I mean, the wins last year, I mean, we talk about Florida State, but, I mean, we saw how bad they really were.
What's funny is
games against teams that they did well, that were good. Miami, massive win.
Miami was huge, and I feel it wasn't like the years where we had beaten North Carolina 22 and 23 where they kind of fell off. Like, Miami was legitimately a good team. And Cam Ward, yes, he did make mistakes. He had that fumble at the end. He had a couple overthrown balls, but he did not throw an interception. He still threw for over 300, I think, at least over 200. I don't know exactly, but he had a good game. What I was going to say, what was funny was FSU, in the moment, I was so hyped and so excited, but then looking back, that's arguably the worst win we had all of last season, only beating them by 3.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. The schedule you guys have coming up this season for Tech. I'm looking at it right now. A couple of things stand out to me. You don't have Notre Dame. You don't have Miami. Two really powerful. I know Notre Dame's not really ACC, but come on, they are. Don't have Miami, and a lot of these games seem to be pretty winnable. You got a game against Colorado on the road that might be a little tough. Sure, Clemson's going to be hard to do. If you can pull that off, you're really doing things over there in Atlanta. But then the rest of the schedule is guys like Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Boston College, Pitt. I mean, 7-6 last year. 8 or 9 wins is easily in your guys' future, I would think.
I like our schedule a lot, because under Collins and also under Early Key, we had some brutal schedules, and we will have.
Oh yeah,
and we will have brutal schedules, which I think is necessary, especially in this era when strength of schedule matters so much. I do appreciate it, because if you can beat them, then you're going places. And I'll talk on this year's schedule. Colorado is a great game to open with, because you're playing a team that on paper you should be able to beat, but it's still, I would say, a relatively formidable opponent, at least to open the season with.
I mean, yeah, you're going up against Deion Sanders and his squad, and who knows what they're going to look like this year. It's a lot of question marks. They're kind of in a rebuild phase, and you're on the road going to a higher altitude to play in Boulder, Colorado. It's a reasonably difficult test to start the season out. Not one that's overly bad, but it's going to, give them a few bruises, I think.
Yes, and also you have so many storylines just because key in prime time are like the exact opposite personalities, and so I'm gonna find that coaching matchup fascinating. I don't think there's any beef there. In fact, I just probably expect them to respect the hell out of each other because they both.
I'm sure
they both played the game of football, but they both have completely different demeanors. And then you also have within the fan bases, it's a home and home. So what's funny is if say they split this year and next year, it won't matter. But a lot of people are dubbing this the 1990 National Championship game. It's so the fan bases are going to have bragging rights thrown around or whatever.
Yeah, of course. The other thing that you guys got going for you in that game against Colorado is just, we don't know what Colorado's going to look like because it's a freaking circus.
Yeah.
It's all... People were out there yelling about how Deion might not be in good enough shape to even coach this year because he had a health scare. Newsflash, we don't know what's going on with Deion Sanders. He's not going to just tell you. He's probably fine. He has health problems, but that doesn't mean he's going to quit coaching. I will say, for Colorado's sake, if Deion doesn't do good this year, he's probably going to quit. Just saying.
Yeah.
He might not like this crap, but let's go into Colorado. I mean, Georgia Tech. That's a very winnable game for them, I think. The only games I feel like that you guys are completely screwed on is Clemson, because it's Clemson, I'm sorry.
No, that's
then I think Duke would be a tough one. And then
UGA's
Georgia's
always
going to be tough.
Yeah. I would say those are the perfect three, I would say. Georgia's always tough. I mean, even you go back to years where we've been good and managed to either play them close or beat them, and we still have to give everything we had to even compete with them.
Definitely.
They're always going to recruit well. They're always going to have the guys, big guys, and just the athletes. Clemson, I would say, Clemson I am absolutely terrified of because now he's not all in. But Dabo was using the portal, and I was saying when he wasn't, I'm like, if Dabo uses the portal, then everyone's got to look out. And now he isn't all in, as I said, but he's starting to use the portal, and he has most of his guys coming back. Clemson always has a tenacious.
Yeah,
Clemson always has a good defense.
Clemson has basically all their best players coming back this season after a year of seasoning it last year. They got a taste of the playoffs. Cade Klubnik is in his senior year. He's going to absolutely be elite. He's going to be in the Heisman race. They're already talking about him being a potential Heisman. Him and Arch Manning going neck and neck the whole way. Antonio Williams, Brian Westbrook Jr., TJ Moore, rounding out your wide receiver core. I mean, they got talent for days on that Clemson offense, and they got a few players on defense that could make you guys' life hell. I'm genuinely just...
we're not going to win.
That's the one game that's take a loss.
I'm Tech and Clemson are rivals, but it's at this point, Tech leads.
Wait. I'm sorry. Did you just say Tech and Clemson are rivals?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
When?
Since forever. They've played for a long time. I think dating back to the 1890s. Fun fact.
Oh, even before the ACC days?
Oh, yeah. Fun fact. 1903, Tech plays Clemson, and I think Clemson beats them 73-0 or something. Surprisingly, the one that we suffered under Collins might not be the worst one all time against Clemson. But Tech's and Georgia told Clemson, we will give you a bushel of apples for every touchdown you score on Tech. So Clemson gets 10 bushels of apples. I don't know why it was apples, but it's the early 1900s. They were doing timey things or something like that. Tech then goes out and hires Clemson's coach. His name was John Heisman.
That explains it.
Yeah. And so Tech's played Clemson a long time. Tech leads this series by 15 games, but it's because when Dodd was at Tech, he really just had Frank Howard's number, and then Clemson struggled in the 70s. Since the 80s, it's been Clemson in the lead, and they've dominated us for like 10 years. I will say this, if you want to watch classic ACC games, basically any game from like 1997 to like early 2010s between Tech and Clemson, almost always just a barn burner. Many dramatic games.
I need to look this up later.
Many dramatic games. Tech's had a couple memorable ones in the early 2000s, just last-second catches. Calvin Johnson, when he was a freshman, had a notable game where he caught a game-winning touchdown.
Gosh.
And then,
that's going to be homework material for me.
Yeah.
I love going back and watching old college football games. That's part of the reason why I have a YouTube channel about college football now, is because I thoroughly enjoy going back and watching the old stuff, especially games that were called by Keith Jackson, the great ABC commentator. Anytime there's a game and I'm listening to it and I hear him start talking, I'm immediately like, all right, I'm listening to this whole game now. Screw it if it's good or bad. Keith Jackson, literally, to college football fans, I feel like back then was kind of like your therapist that you would meet with every Saturday. Didn't matter what kind of a week you had. When the game kicked off at 3:30 or 8 o'clock and Keith Jackson was on TV telling you the story of how this game was going down, whoever was playing, it didn't matter anymore. It was great.
I've heard so many good things about him. The issue with me is...
he's a legend.
Oh, absolutely. The issue with me is, one, he called maybe, I'm sure he called more, but I can maybe find five games when he was calling us. Because Keith Jackson's always been more of a Big Ten, and you always think of the Rose Bowl when you think of him.
Easily. Yeah, he ended up calling a lot more Big Ten games. Like, if you go back and watch my Ohio State video later, you'll see him talk quite a bit. It was between him and Brent Musburger calling those games between Ohio State and Michigan on ABC way back in the day.
Yeah.
But, like, that just kind of was how it ended up happening. They didn't fly, back then they also didn't fly commentators all around the country. You had, like, more regional announcer groups and stuff like that.
Mark Packer, the late Mark Packer, rest in peace. He passed away, I think, 2 months ago or a month ago. He was always the, and he did the NFL too, but he was the ACC guy during those times. I grew up a little bit with him because he worked, into the 2010s. You talked about Brent Musburger. Brent Musburger actually has a lot more connections with Tech. When Tech beat Nebraska in the Citrus Bowl in '90 to win the Natty, or win a share of the Natty, Brent Musburger called that game. He called a couple games late 90s, early 2000s. He called a great, if you want to watch a classic game, the 51-48 win over Georgia in 1999. Brent Musburger was on that call. And in fact, and then Gary Danielson as well. And then that game where I talked about in 2004 where Calvin caught the game-winning touchdown, I think Brent was on that. And then most recently, I think he called our Orange Bowl win in 2014. But I do know a lot about Brent. Respect the hell out of Brent, because Brent's, of course, college football, you think of Keith Jackson, but Brent's done everything. He's done baseball, he's done basketball, he's done the NBA, he's done football, he's done everything, really.
Yeah, I mean, he really has. I mean, just kind of the gist with a lot of these guys that did ABC Sports back in the day. I really miss when ABC could do their own coverage, and you had the big networks. You had CBS, NBC, ABC calling their games. NBC would be Notre Dame. ABC would be a lot of Big Ten football and some Big 12 football. Pac-12 would come on late in the evening, but they were usually on ESPN depending on the network you're on. CBS, it was the SEC. That was it. You would get SEC in your local stations in the noon, and then CBS 3:30 with Vermont was the kickoff, and it was great.
I love
that's how it was for the better part of 2 decades almost.
If there's any reason that I wish Tech would have stayed in the SEC, it's because I never got to see us get a game called by Vern. Vern, and I know all about Vern because up until I was like 12 years old, he called the SEC. He was just had a way of doing things. He was never like Chris Fowler, who was more like dramatic. And I'm not saying this to not Chris Fowler, but Chris Fowler's more in your face. He's more out there. Vern had a way of
They have different styles.
Yeah.
Like
Vern had a way of calling it where if he raised his voice, you knew a moment was really important. And then as much flack as people give Gary Danielson, I feel Gary was a great partner for Vern. I feel they had such good chemistry.
Oh, easily. 100%. I mean, God, who the heck was the partner to Keith Jackson all those years? His name escaped me off the top of my head.
I don't remember.
But he had it. Well, hang on. I'm going to look it up real quick. It's going to bother me until I don't.
I can look it too. Keith Jackson.
Because he was a great, wingman.
Bob Greasy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yep. And Greasy did some occasionally with Brad Nessler too when Nessler was on ESPN.
Yeah. Before Nessler went to CBS in the mid 2010s, Dan Fouts was really good too in Jackson's final years after Greasy went away from the booth. But I mean those two, and Bob Greasy's the one that a lot of people look back on. I grew up with Jackson and Fouts.
Okay.
But the one thing that Vern and Jackson had so much in common was exactly what you described. They didn't yell unless it was really crazy. They would just tell the story.
Yes.
And they would let you listen to it.
I would say another, actually that's a perfect way of describing it, and that's what broadcasting should be. Sports is just real life storytelling, and if you're broadcasting, you ought to just, if it's a big moment, and if you're doing radio for a team, then yes, you can be a homer and do your thing and get a little amped there because that's radio. But if you're on television, you want to be a storyteller. If there's a plot twist, then yes, you can empathize a plot twist. If we're putting it that way. And I feel Vern and Keith were just two of the best to ever do it.
Without a doubt.
Another partner I remember who I just remember being hilarious and just a goofy guy for Brad Nessler. Do you remember Paul McGuire?
Sounds familiar.
He was this short, stubby dude with a mustache who was just kind of a goober. And it was hilarious because Brad wouldn't mock him, but Brad is kind of a smart aleck, and so when Paul would make mistakes, Brad would just be hilarious about it. Anyway.
Okay. I vaguely remember him, but yes, I think I do.
Yeah, he wasn't much of a, I don't know what he did, but he was only on for 2 or 3 years. I don't know if he got canned. He wasn't terrible, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's the worst to ever do. He was just a memorable guy for me because there's a game where Tech fumbled or Florida State fumbled at the goal line near the end of the game. It's for Tech fans it's called the Miracle on North Avenue. But before they did it, they're going to run the ball. They ran the ball, and so Paul McGuire's I don't think they're going to kick a field goal and do. I think they're going for the touchdown. And Brad had said it right before, and so Brad said that over the broadcast. That's what I just said, Paul. And it just sounds hilarious when I rewatch the game. Anyway, that's me going off topic. Staying on topic, we're going through our schedule, and you pointed out teams to be afraid of, and one team that I'm happy you pointed out, because a lot of Tech fans, I don't know, hope springs eternal in the offseason, I get it, but a lot of Tech fans, I feel, have been overlooking Duke.
Oh, the Duke is the one thing that I keep on hearing over and over and over, what's Bill Belichick going to do in North Carolina? What's he going to do in North Carolina? Is it going to be a functioning team at North Carolina? Well, y'all don't have to worry about the circus coming to town this year. Y'all don't play North Carolina. Instead, you play their noisy neighbor a few miles down Tobacco Road, Duke. And Duke has been, for somehow, some way, despite the fact that they have been through a lot of turnover and transfer turmoil and a coaching change, they're hanging around. And this is the longest period that I can remember, at least, Duke being reasonably good for quite a while.
I would say
they're all. The biggest thing there is just the NIL has been saving Duke so much.
They got rich. They don't have a lot. They don't have a lot of football donors, but the donors they have, because it's Duke, that Duke education, they're rich.
Oh, they got rich donors.
They're rich, yeah. And so I feel Duke is interesting to me because for a while, and Tech has played them a lot. It's not a rivalry, I would say, but Tech played them every year from like the 30s until I think 2023 when they had when the ACC expanded. We've played Duke a lot, and so and Tech has owned the series just because it's Duke, they're a basketball school, but Duke, I would say their success really starts. Of course, they had moments. They were really good ancient times. Wallace Wade, William Murray, guys like that. And then, of course, Steve Spurrier was there for like a hot flash second and left. But they really started getting going under Cutcliffe, I would say. He didn't have a winning record overall there, but what he did for the program there, he made Duke care about football, which is
that's the one thing that I'm starting to see a lot of. Your big basketball schools, Duke and Kansas, are starting to actually give a crap about football for the first time in a very long time. Duke, right there, immediately, they have made a lot of noise. 2 years ago, opening week, they upset Clemson at home.
I remember that, yes.
As we all remember. I remember watching that game very, very well. It's one of my favorite games I've ever watched. Last year, they
started 5-0 last year
with the first-year head coach.
Yes, and they weren't ranked, which with their schedule, I don't know if they deserve to be. And of course, Ole Miss scalped them. Ole Miss scalped them.
I mean, Ole Miss beat the crap out of them in the Gator Bowl. True, but that's not the point.
But they with a first-year coach, yes, you're right. With a first-year coach, that's a fantastic season, especially at Duke.
Not to mention they lost their star quarterback to Notre Dame in the transfer portal going into that season.
Yes, and they managed to just play as well. But the reason Duke scares me, everyone's talking about Mensah, the transfer quarterback, and he's good. I'm not saying he's not good. But, But what really is worrying me about Duke is, and this is something that goes back to Manny Diaz, is that Manny Diaz always has had a good defense. He had solid defenses at Miami. Of course, at times they would fracture because it's Miami, most notably the UNC game in 2020. But since he's come to Duke, Duke has had a really solid defense. People forget, Tech was down 14-10 at the end of the third against Duke last year. And this is at home. And Tech had to kind of get their stuff together, and they scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth to put that away. But Duke, with the quarterback that they're getting, and I'm assuming that Manny Diaz, at least, you never know with the portal, but I'm assuming they're going to have most of their firepower on defense back, and they'll probably have some additions too. I feel, and we're going up there, I feel they could give us some trouble.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, Duke, I think when it comes to the Blue Devils, they're going to be a tough game to win. Just simply because of that defense. 100%, no doubt about it. That's Diaz's wheelhouse. Mensah is a great quarterback, but they don't have any starting wide receivers returning this year. It's all new wide receivers. And 2 of them are seniors. So, you look at everything you're seeing there. Jacquez Moore being the running back for Duke is going to give you nightmares too. It's going to be more of a ground and pound style offense, I think, surprisingly because of that. Because they have a really strong offensive line coming in. Only one offensive lineman did not return this season. So I would say that Mensah is going to be a good quarterback. He's a great addition for them. There could be a breakout wide receiver, but as it stands, it's kind of like Duke's just going to be a ground and pound team.
Yeah,
it's going to be aggressive. From 3 yards to a cloud of dust.
Yeah, if there were still divisions, Duke ought to be put in the Big Ten West this year. I mean,
you mean the
with style
Big Ten? What?
No, I was joking. I was saying if it.
Oh, okay.
I was saying if there were still divisions, Duke ought to be put in the Big Ten West because they play exactly like a team in that division would have played.
Yeah,
just like a good defense. Sorry, I should have made it sound more clear that I was joking. But a good defense, and then they'll have a solid quarterback, but most of their work will be done on the ground. And I remember the last Elko year, they had a great running back. I think his last name was Durant. I forget his first name. But they have their guy now whose name escapes me. What's his name again? I know his name. Who's their running? Moore. Jekez Moore, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he's good. And so that's besides Clemson, I would say in terms of the ACC, that's a team for us to worry about. I would say Syracuse gives me a little bit of worry, but because their quarterback's gone, obviously Fran Brown is a terrific coach. He's a little bit of a psychopath mentally, but he's a terrific coach.
The best coaches are usually a little crazy.
Yes,
anyway.
But he is a terrific coach, and I feel Syracuse nailed that hire. So it is at home. It's on homecoming. And so I would say we should beat Syracuse just because they won't have McCord and they lost a couple of guys. But, you never know. Things happen. And then, of course, as we talked about with UGA. But I would say right now I think 8 to 9 wins is a reasonable prediction for us. Now, moving on from Tech, with you, let me pull up Ohio State's schedule because I'm interested to see how you think y'all are going to do.
Yeah. Ohio State is definitely going to be kind of like everyone's wondering, are they going to repeat? I think a lot of people are going to be surprised when I say this. I really don't know.
That's fair.
I really, really don't know. And the main reason why, honestly, it's simply just because of a lot of unknowns. So I'll start with the obvious. We have a new quarterback in Julian Sayin. He's had a year or two to learn under the system, and he's supposedly learned all he needs to in order to run this offense. But we also lost, as much as I don't like Chip Kelly, we lost Chip Kelly. Or was it Chip Kelly? Yeah, it was Chip Kelly.
Yeah, it was Chip Kelly.
And Brian Kelly confused. But yeah, we lost Chip Kelly on our offensive attack. He went off and coached wherever he went. What was it again?
I forget where he went to. No,
UCLA from?
He came back from UCLA. He came to y'all from UCLA. Let me look up Chip Kelly.
That's right.
He's Raiders.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. Don't matter. The point is, we lost literally everybody that we had last season. Everybody that matters gone.
Besides Smith.
Smith, Carnell Tate, both really good wide receivers for us. They both did well last year. Tate's going to have himself an excellent season, being Jeremiah Smith's number 2. But our offensive line's even having to rebuild. We have a new running back in James Peoples. We got Julian Sayin coming in, freshman season. I think he was redshirted last year. I can't remember. I want to say he was.
You say he's been on here for 2 years, though.
Yeah, I was going to say. There's a lot of question marks around Ohio State. The one team that I am afraid of in the Big Ten this year, and I sound weird saying this, but it's got to be Penn State. They're the only team out of the elites coming into the season that are the most complete, because Rular is coming into his senior year. You got Nicholas Singleton back at your running back for Penn State. Most of your offensive line is still intact. Yes, you got some transfers at wide receiver, but they're all seniors. They're all experienced. They're all really good. You got just your defense is stacked, and they also have a somewhat favorable schedule.
Yes,
going into the game against Ohio State.
Yes, now it's at Ohio State, which of course
it is.
And there's also the reputation y'all have of just always being able to beat them. But I would say that's a fair team to be a little afraid of, just because of look at the experience.
Yeah.
And of course, if James Franklin can finally beat y'all, oh my gosh. Like, I like James Franklin, just solely based off of what he did at Vanderbilt. James Franklin's a likable guy. If you can win 9 games there, you got me on board. I'm rooting for you. And then also it's just, you got to root for him because he turned around Penn State from the depths of that thing. I'm not even going to go into that, but and now he's facing scrutiny because while he's turned them around, the expectations have started to creep up. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can finally get that monkey off his back. As for the rest of y'all's schedule, I would say Texas, the kickoff at home, that's a huge game.
Yeah, boy, that's going to be the game that really tells the college football world, is Arch Manning going to be legit this season? Is he actually ready for the show? Nobody is under more pressure, I think, right now in all of college football than Arch Manning.
Yes.
Because that kid has the weight of the entire Texas season on his shoulders. You open up against Texas in Ohio Stadium. I don't care if the game's being played at noon because Fox has a bunch of...
yeah.
Nice. I don't care what time it is. It is I got the pleasure of finally going to a Buckeye game last season when they played Indiana in the Shoe at noon, and good Lord Almighty, was it insane.
Yeah.
That environment is rough no matter who you're playing. Ohio, you go into Ohio Stadium, you know you're in for a bad day.
Yeah.
If you win, you don't have to worry about anything else. If you lose, nobody's going to be surprised.
Yeah, and what's the thing is, there are different environments in college football. Personally, I'm not going to speak too much on it. I'd say Bobby Dodd Stadium's a decent environment because the seats are right on top of you, and so while Tech doesn't have the manpower, it can get noisy at times. Ohio State has the fans, the diehards, and they have the amount of diehards, and so you really have just everything you need. It's just a sheer cathedral of a stadium they have there.
The cathedral is the best way to put it. The rotunda you have at the top of the stadium, on the top side, I should say. I can't remember which end it is. I think it's the north end of the stadium, the rotunda. It literally looks like you're walking into a church.
Yeah. I think Nebraska and Ohio State are the two schools I think of that kind of have that look.
Yeah.
And then
let me ask you a question. Speaking of Bobby Dodd, why is the game against Georgia being held at a neutral site?
Oh boy. So
what in the heck happened there?
All right, so let me. This is going to take a little bit to explain. I don't like it either, but with the reasoning, I kind of understand why they're doing it. So we've had a contract with Mercedes-Benz Stadium dating back to, I think, 2021. I think it's a 6-year deal. So next year, I think they're probably going to move the Colorado game next year. From what I've heard, next year's Tennessee game should stay put. Now, we have a new AD, so I don't know if that will remain. I hope so. I don't want Tennessee to be moved to the bins. But back to this year, and so we've had this contract with them, and so we've played a game in the bins each year, whether it's a kickoff game or just a home game. Last year we had Notre Dame, and so this year we chose Georgia because also we have renovations going on in our stadium. Now it's not to the extent that Vandy was at. You don't see cranes, but we had this building in the northeast corner called the Edge Center, and it was the athletics operations center, and it's been torn down, and they're building a new student athlete performance center on top of it. On top of that, there is an other renovation, which is the real issue with the game being moved where it is. That's basically renovating all the suites. They're replacing the bleachers with chairback, and they're doing a bunch of other amenity work inside of it. That's the big one, and that's
okay.
And that's
I get it. So,
and that's going to start.
Long story short,
they want to get a head start.
My viewers listening from my YouTube channel. Long story short, money talks, BS walks. Because it kind of sounds like it's a combination of both Georgia Tech remodeling Bobby Dodd, which can't hate that, and a contract with Benz.
Yes,
that's what it sounds like. It's just money.
Yeah, and it's more, and then Tech, they're like, we want to get a head start. It would give us like 2 weeks ahead of construction schedule. And then, of course, what really makes me mad is MBS, normally our games in the bins, my dad's a season ticket holder. He gets our family's tickets. Normally those come with the season tickets. But because MBS wants to fill every seat, and even if they didn't do this, they would, but the Georgia game is separate. We have to buy them.
Say it with me, kids. Money talks, bull bleep walks.
Oh my gosh! Like it's.
Oh my God, the green.
It's and UGA is going to have like, if our season ticket holders did get it, UGA would have like 50% of the crowd. I mean, they play at Mercedes-Benz every other year because of the SEC championship game.
Yeah, like it's basically home away from home for them. It's only an hour from Athens, if I recall correctly, right?
Yeah, and
yeah, that can make that drive easy.
Yeah, and so that's it's a little unfortunate, but it's still going to be exciting. Just given the scale of the stadium, and whenever Georgia and Tech play, particularly when they play in Atlanta, it's you can feel the buzz in the crowd just because of the amalgamation of the two fan bases there. Tech fans always get uppity when it's Georgia, and then UGA fans are always rowdy as heck anyway. So
I'm sorry. I love how you described it as uppity. That is just so like what the stereotypical Georgia Tech fan would say. By golly, it's an uppity in here. Like,
yeah, well, it's. Yeah, that Tech fans have always had the Southern reputation, but also that engineering pet boys kind of reputation. Uncle Lou, I'm sure you've heard of him, the UGA YouTuber. Yes. He used to have a character which was like a stereotypical Tech fan, and I hated it, but it was hilarious. Because most of it, besides the stuff he would occasionally say, but the demeanor, most of it was right. And it's like, if you go in Tech Stadium, Bobby Dodd, it's like different kinds of people sit in different parts of the stadium. Most of the old-timey people who are like that sit in the West Stands. The West Stands are the oldest part of the stadium. And so most of like the really loyal people who have been going to games for like 60 years, they will sit over there. And they wear like a collared shirt, glasses. Some of them wear glasses. Not all of them wear glasses, but you'll see glasses. Some of them will just have a gold polo on or something like that. And what's fun is they're the most loyal fans, but if they're like really old and it's like third down, and if you're sitting in the West Stands and you're standing up, some of them might ask you to sit down.
That's a hell of a letdown for your college football experience. I don't want to hate on old school fans because, frankly, they've been there, like you said, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. They have the right to ask for you to respect their view of the game.
Yes.
At the same time, this isn't the same football that was being played in 1960.
Yes.
And fans are not the same fans that were there in 1960. And I know from watching old footage, really old black and white footage of college football, the fans would jump up and cheer and get rowdy and get out of their seats just like they do today. Mm-hmm. So part of me wants to respect it, but part of me also wants to say shove it. But that's just me.
Yeah, well, it thankfully not all of them are like that. A couple of them are. Part of it's, I think just due to their age, they can't maybe they can't stand up like they used to or something like that. But and most of them are really nice if you get to know them. I mean, they're the loyal ones. They're the ones who have been with the inconsistent mess that has been Tech football for 60 years. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, I
don't see what I say to mock the elderly or anything like that. I understand there's certain fans that probably can't stand up, but that's where you need to have the team make areas of the stadium that people who have said issues are going to be able to have the best ability to view the game.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just getting the same season tickets to the same seat, but you need a wheelchair or you need a walker, it might not be the best idea to sit there. That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
I was more
Yeah.
more meaning to clear up what I had said.
Sure.
Yeah, because Tech fans who listen to me will be like, "Why are you mocking our fans?" I'm like, "No, I'm part of me's making a joke, and then part of me's making an example. I love our fans, so,
I'm going to say this right now, man. There is no other person in this world that is more willing to mock fans than me. I'll mock Ohio State fans. That's my team. But I also am a realist. I'm a cynical, and I'm very realistic about what it is. That's why I say, old people, come to the game. Definitely sit in the West Side, but make the West Side handicap accessible more for the older generations so they can enjoy the game that they love and the team that they love.
Yes.
That's what I say.
Yes. In terms of wheelchairs, I think they are good with accessibility. It's more like walkers and stuff like that, and it also just may be people who don't want to stand up or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I sit on the east side, but when I've wandered over the west side, this is what I've heard and occasionally seen. I sit on the other side of the stadium, so this is just my personal preference. But every fan base has different kinds of people, good apples, bad apples, whatever. There's probably a UMass fan who's a total jerk. We just haven't met him.
Wait, I'm sorry, what team?
There's probably a UMass fan who's a total jerk. We just haven't met him. I'm saying that because every fan base has a bad apple. I mean, literally everyone has to.
I thought for a second there, I thought there was a friend of ours that loves to talk about UMass, and I remembered, he likes to make fun of UMass.
Oh.
Got it.
Oh, right. No, I know. Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Anyways.
Yeah.
So what do you think? We've talked about Tech. We've touched on Ohio State. Oh, I was going to ask you this question. First, can you tell us how exactly you got to collaborate with Tree on your video?
I messaged him on Discord.
Simple enough.
It's longer than that. So, look, first thing I'm going to say about Your Name Tree, he is such a gentleman. He is really, really giving with his time. I'm not the only person he's collaborated with before. Another YouTuber that I worked closely with by the name of Squidtard Sports. He is a Tennessee Volunteers fan.
I watch him.
Yes. He had Tree come in and do a bit for him and collaborate with him. Before that happened, I had already messaged Tree, and I've actually talked to him on and off over the years because I used to be a moderator for his Reddit page and his Discord channel. And I would occasionally have chit-chats with him or whatever. So we became acquaintances. I wouldn't say we're friends. We just became acquaintances. When my channel started to get a little bit of steam at the start of 2024, when we cracked 1,000 and started to really pick it up, I said, okay, let's... I got an idea for a video I'm going to make about the playoffs. I want to get Tree involved because I got to talk about Penn at this point in the video. And so I just messaged Tree in March of last year. Hey, working on this video. Here's what it is. Would you mind lending me a few minutes of your time to give me some voiceover or video or whatever you have time to do to work on the video? He looked at it. He was like, yeah, man, this looks awesome. Let's do it. Didn't question it whatsoever. And then I got busy with everything else. And I didn't finish the video until earlier this year. So I worked on that video for a whole 15 months. And then I get to that point again, and it's like February. I'm like, crap. Tree told me he would. So I messaged him again. I said, hey, I know we talked about a bunch of different stuff over the last year because he's also been a great mentor for me on the channel, I'll say. Anytime I've had a question for him, he's always been very honest and given me plenty of advice. I asked him, hey, you told me last year you would do this. I know it's been a year. I'm finally at the point where it's time to put your stuff in. Do you have the time? If you don't, I understand. I'll make something up. He said, no, let's do it. Sends me a quick minute of video doing his Yinzer character with Pitt, and it was great. I loved it. The channel subscribers lost their ever-loving minds. I kept it secret from literally everybody. Not a soul knew until the video went live. I didn't even put that Your Name Tree was in the video until after the live premiere ended and everybody had left. And I had And I put featuring Urinary Tree in the title of the video because I wanted to surprise everybody, and it was awesome. And since then, we've talked on and off. I don't know if I'm going to get an opportunity to do that with him again in the near future. I don't want to be. I'm not. Here's the thing. He's a massive influence for my YouTube channel, and I think anybody that watches my content will see that. But it's not like I am a mega fan. Like, I keep it real. I'm 30. I don't have time to be following people like I'm paparazzi. I don't understand people's obsession with Hollywood celebrities, for example. They're human beings. And for whatever reason, I really like the content this Yinzer from Pittsburgh puts out. So I love his style. It works for me, and I've adapted it to my own way. But I'm not going to go to him on every time I have a video idea and try to find a way to shoehorn Pitt into a video to just to get him in there and get myself a little bit of clout. No, screw that.
Yeah,
I want to do it my way. But Tree was so giving, and he continues to be so giving for his time because he's always willing to help those that are just trying to make it in this game because it's not easy. It's not easy to make these videos. It's not easy to put yourself out there like that. And it's really not easy to do it on a quick enough schedule, which I don't have. But, it's not easy to do it on a quick enough turnaround to gain an audience.
Yeah.
So
I can relate to you in terms of the delays because I'm working on a documentary about the Tech-Georgia rivalry and more specific on Bobby Dodd's role in that. And I plan on releasing it in August. Well, here we are in July, and I'm not even halfway done. Yeah, and so I'm kind of like now I have a job, and then college is going to start, so I'm really going to have to, worst case scenario, I would hope to have it out by the game in November.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair estimate. Here's what I would recommend, man. I intentionally tell myself now. Because I went and spent 15 months making one video at one point while I was working on a bunch of other crap. I'm not doing that again. That was all. That was a 2.5 hour video about the college football playoffs. It did really well. It continues to do really well. We've gotten over 12,000 views on it, I think. 13,000 now as of today. And it's continuing to do well. I'm never going to make a feature-length video again because that was awful. I'd rather break it up into parts.
Yeah,
and the biggest thing I would tell you in your situation, give yourself somewhat of a timeline, but don't sacrifice quality for time.
Yeah,
it needs more time. Give it more time.
Yeah, and the good thing is I don't think it might worst case scenario it might get up to 50 minutes to an hour. I don't think how long was yours 2 hours.
My playoff video that took me 15 months was 2 hours and 48 minutes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be that long. But that said, it's going to, it's going to take some work. And then but the good thing is I have ADHD. And because I have ADHD, I have a general idea of what I want this to be like and specifics and stuff like that. And so when I get going, I don't think it'll take me too long to really finish it. Right now, I just got storyboard and script and stuff like that. And so when I eventually find the time to make it, I think it shouldn't take me too long. But I say that just because it's I know exactly how you feel just given, delays and circumstances and stuff like that. Because I originally had the idea back in April. Then I have graduation in the end of high school. Then I have to go find a job. I find my job. I start my job. Then I got 4th of July vacation, but I can't do it then because I'm
Man, I wish I had the kind of problem. I wish I had that kind of schedule because let me tell you something. Being 30 years old, single father with a girlfriend, yes, but also 2 kids and a real-time office job that I have to work every single day, 5 days a week, while also trying to build a YouTube channel. It's quite a lot. I think time management is the main key to success for anybody trying to build up any sort of an audience or platform for whatever they're discussing. Like in your case, It's just time management is the only thing that's really worked. For me, my schedule is literally this. If I have time during the day, I will do a little bit during the day. I'll work on a video, I'll do a little research, I'll write a script. Night, when the kids are asleep and I've spent time with my girlfriend, that is the only time that I am able to work on anything for the most part. So like 3 hours a night at best, I am working on a new video, on a live stream, doing an interview with you, doing something to help grow the channel. So I have to manage the time I have because I don't have much of it.
And that's
in your
why
case, you got a lot more time than I do, and you will be able to capitalize on that as long as you manage it.
Yeah. The thing is, with college starting and me wanting to get into broadcasting, we'll see how that goes. You talk about, and of course, I'm at the age I am, which makes me have a lot more free time. But I'm growing up, so it's a little scary. We'll see what happens. But the free time will shrink. It's inevitable.
Yes, it's a fact of life. The older you get, the less time you feel like you have.
Yeah, and then another thing I was saying, you were speaking about how you have Tree's a big influence in your channel. If you were to watch, I made a documentary on the 2014 Tech Team, and if you were to watch that, you would say, I'm slightly joking on this, but you would probably say, wow, Daniel is ripping John Boyce off right now. Yeah,
I would. A lot of people seem to be trying to go after that John Boyce style. I think there's another YouTuber I saw, Hayden. He's blown up quite a bit. I've seen a couple of his football videos where he's just totally like people in the chat are like John Boyce successful right here. And where he makes like all sorts of different content. So like and don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing. John Boyce is a hell of a fucking creator. Sorry.
Yeah.
Boy, I made it from a whole show without dropping the F-bomb except for one time at the start.
It's all right.
Dang it.
It's good. Look, 2 times in an hour, I feel you've tried your best. But John, I would say, in terms of documentary and in terms of sports storytelling, I'm compelled to him because he just tells the story so well. I'm not as dorky as him. I'm more of a straight-up scores, winners, losers kind of guy. He's a numbers kind of guy. And so I do have my own way in terms of that, and I don't want to directly rip him off, but I use a lot of the music that he uses because I'm into 80s music, and what does John use? A bunch of synth drone and smooth jazz music. And so
You want to hear something funny?
What?
Tree is not the only influence that I have on my videos. Like, yeah, he's an influence. He's a major influence, but when you see my videos, it'll kind of make a little bit of sense. I love the storytelling that H Bomber Guy does.
Who?
The way H Bomber Guy. He's a YouTuber. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not. He made a massive video on plagiarism last year. That was like 4 hours.
Oh, H Bomber. Okay.
H Bomber Guy. He is a wonderful story.
A banana.
No matter
the exploding banana. Exploding Banana PFP, is that right?
No. Look up the plagiarism video.
I see
his video on climate change.
Gosh, 3 hours! Holy crap!
The fact is, he keeps your attention with the way he tells the story for the entire 3 hours. I have listened to that long video so many times, because it is so easy to listen to. So as I've gone on with my videos, I keep making longer and longer videos. And as fun as it is to do a urinating tree style, you can't keep that energy the entire way. You need to have your highs and lows. So I've been leaning more on what H Bomber Guy does, where he's just steady, 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 boom, steady, 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 boom. Punch, 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 and then you go back to level, and then you punch again.
Yeah, another guy.
If something happens every like 5 minutes, you're gonna stay very focused on what's going on.
Yeah, another guy who when you talk about H Bomber Guy in terms of storytelling, another guy who he does do sports things, and another guy who's just great at story. You know who Imp Lemon is?
I need to look him up.
Imp Lemon. EMPLEMON.
Yes, actually I do. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, and he actually has made me get into NASCAR a little bit through his videos on that. But he's not only does stuff on that, it's just like he does stuff on everything, and all of his videos are just fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It's just amazing stuff, and so, I'm trying to, I'd say him and John Boyas are my biggest inspirations. Tree occasionally, but I'm way less brash than he is, and I would say, in turn you, just because, I'm trying to be a little more mainstream. And you can, you've had all the success you've had. I'm not saying you're not mainstream. In fact, you're probably more mainstream than I am. But it's
pop the brakes. Let's call a spade here. I'm at 4,000 subscribers. Tree's at over 600,000. I am on the on-ramp to hopefully the channel growing and starting to take off a little bit. I hope that by this time next year, I'm at 10,000. At most. I think I'll be at 10,000.
Yeah.
I'm not delusion.
Yeah, but
that's a D-list YouTube still.
Yeah, but this channel has I want to say 152 right now. Now my Instagram is having success, and that's my main method of things. It has, I think, 3.3 thousand at this moment. But YouTube is where I put the podcast and long length videos and stuff like that. And my YouTube, it's just because it's not my main thing, it hasn't gotten a lot of traction. So just in turn, big picture, you have way more success on this platform than me. I'm not looking at you like some sort of father figure, but I'm just saying,
I hope not.
Oh, hell no.
I am not a father.
No.
I am not a father figure.
I
might be a father, but I'm not a father figure.
It's like the Charles Barkley thing. I am not a role model.
I am not. You look at my YouTube videos, and immediately the last thing you're probably thinking of, oh, this is a stand-up gentleman.
I mean, look, you have a family, so I mean, you've done a good job with managing family time.
Content.
I
mean, I'll put it like this. I fun fact. Some of you guys are about to learn this for the first time. I was also between college football and where I am now, I did a stint of 3 years being an independent professional wrestler around the Cincinnati region. And the one thing that I learned when I was in professional wrestling is you're trying to tell the fans a story. And when you do, the character you present yourself as needs to kind of be you, but with the volume turned up to 110.
It's honestly
that's kind of what I try to do.
That's a perfect way of describing what pro wrestling is, because if you look at the people, especially, Steve Austin, yes, Stone Cold's a character. When you look at Steve Austin, it's basically, it's him, but with the stove dial turned up to high. Exactly.
That's like in real life, I'm not the drunken SOB people like to pretend I am, because I wouldn't be able to hold down a job. I wouldn't have what I have now. And obviously in reality, in the real world, I keep myself on the straight and narrow. I enjoy a few beers. I enjoy drinking quite a bit every once in a while. But obviously I'm not breaking my liver every night. In the video space, though, who you are on YouTube is kind of what people try to see you as.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I met up with Squidtard in Tennessee last weekend.
Oh, that's awesome.
To meet him for the first time, yeah. I went down to Gatlinburg with a girlfriend, and we had the chance and pleasure of meeting Squidtard. Great dude. And the one thing we discussed is that, your persona on YouTube, it's kind of a lot of what people see you as, and you need to kind of protect that a little bit.
Yes.
Me admitting to you on this interview that I ham it up a little bit with how I present myself on the videos is nothing new. I don't think anybody in their right minds think Urinane Tree is out there being in legitimate Yinzer mode every time the Steelers lose.
Yeah.
He's hamming it up.
Yeah, and Tree off screen, I've heard so many good things about Tree, which makes me respect him even more. Just with how, but because before he got into sports, he was I think a gaming reviewer or something like that.
Yeah, H Bomber Guy even gave him a shout out in that video on plagiarism that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and Tree, it took Tree a long time. He had that Big Browns video, I think in 2016, 17, that was sort of his breakout.
Yep, I remember it very well.
And oh, well. Oh, wait, you're a Bengals fan. Never mind.
Yep, I am.
Yep, all right. But I laughed because I thought you were a Browns fan for a second. I don't know why I thought that, because you're clearly a Cincinnati guy. But when you said I remember it very well, my mind took me one direction. But Tree, it took Tree a long time to get going. You know, sometimes you can have lightning in a bottle like Tree did, and it gets you going. You kind of had that. Obviously you're not where he is, but the playoff thing has done dividends for you. It really has.
Yes.
That's kind of been your first, that's gotten you traction.
Yes, the videos on the Bowl Championship Series, the playoffs, the Bowl Coalition, which was the 90s way they determined the national championship, my video on Oregon, my Notre Dame roast, my Wisconsin video, all of those have helped kind of laid the groundwork for the run-up that I'm having currently. Every single video that I've made over the last, every single long-form video, I should say, over the last couple of months that I've made, going back to my takedowns on Oregon after they blew it to Ohio State, which completely blew up out of nowhere, the national championship video with the playoffs, my Wisconsin video, my Ohio State video tonight. Like, every single one of those I go into thinking I got to hit a home run. Mm-hmm. Because it's the only way we're going to kind of keep this ball rolling. And it's unrealistic to think that, because I can already tell you right now, like, this video I just dropped tonight for Ohio State might not perform as well as the Wisconsin video right away. But it's not about what you do in the moment. It's about how it plays out over time. Because I can tell you this right now. The Notre Dame video I made, roasting the Irish since the last time they won the national championship, it has gained far more views in the last month than it did in the previous 5. It is catching up massively. It's been on a bit of a spike. It just cracked over 18,000 views, and it's gained, I want to say, since mid-May, it's gone over 4,000 views. So it's catching a lot of smoke here.
Yeah.
But you got to make content that is not just. I like making react content to like current events going on in college football, but it has no staying power. Mm-hmm. It fades. It dies quickly because it becomes irrelevant within a few days. Content like what I make with my history videos on Wisconsin and Ohio State, Notre Dame, the national championship, Oregon, West Virginia, it sticks because that's history. It's happened. I'm telling a story here. And for some reason, people love hearing that story. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry, I clicked on one of your thumbnails on accident. I was looking at your page, so you saw the technical difficulty screen there. You may have heard it for a second. But yeah, and if you look at your page, your top 6 most popular videos, you're absolutely right, are 2 of the top 3 are in that CFB Championship Series. You got the Oregon one with 28,000. You got it's a 4 of the first 6, because you got the "You Blew It" Oregon, or the congrats video for Oregon. That's I think your 4th highest. But yeah, you got the Wisconsin, you got the Notre Dame, which I'm surprised that you'd say Notre Dame has just kind of gone up like that. But the algorithm is random sometimes. You'll see videos pop on your For You page that are like 14 years old and have just suddenly gained traction for some reason.
Yeah, and I know, Knowing Better, another YouTube channel I follow, he made a couple of videos that did really kind of mid numbers. Like, they got a couple thousand views, and then suddenly, like, 12, 15, 18 months later, they took off. And, it literally just, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Like, I know that I'm not trying to get big on YouTube, become rich and famous. I'm doing it because I hope that in some way it helps raise my kids. I tell everybody that's ever asked me this, I say the same thing. I don't expect to become rich and famous from YouTube, but if it happens, that's great. It's going to make my kids' lives a lot easier than what I had growing up, and what I currently have.
Yeah.
And that's that's what kind of drives me. But I also just have such a passion for this sport, for college football. There's a lot of upheaval right now. NIL has changed everything. The transfer portal has basically made it into college free agency. Now with the House settlement being done and dusted, and now we have the college commission that's in charge of approving or disqualifying NIL deals. The landscape of college football is just constantly changing. Now I'm even hearing rumors that because of what happened with the Pac-12 falling apart and the after effects of that, the MAC is now in trouble. There's rumors that Ohio, not Ohio State, Athens, Ohio,
they're going
is
to the
considering
Sun Belt.
a jump to the Sun Belt.
I've heard that.
Which is insane to me.
Yeah, why would they do that?
Money.
I guess.
Simply put, money. I say money talks, BS walks, not because it's a running gag on the channel, but because it's true. In modern college football, money runs everything.
It's
literally
a shame. It's a
everything.
shame.
It runs where you go and play Georgia. It runs where colleges go to play in conferences. And it's strong enough to take a school that was a founding member of the MAC and derail it, possibly take it to the Sun Belt. So it's just powerful. And right now the MAC is way behind on their television deal with ESPN. Schools get $1 million per game on ESPN, I think it is. Sun Belt gets like $6 million per game.
Oh my god!
So the money is just doing all the work. That's the main reason why.
What's that would suck. But what's what's interesting to me is just you're right. Money. It's just shame what I'm not like a Marxist or anything, but it's a shame what capitalism and mainly just the greed surrounding it has done to college football and sports in general. Mm-hmm. The sports betting boom is terrible, in my opinion. Terrible.
It's terrible for all of the wrong reasons. Betting itself shouldn't be looked down upon, I don't think, because if you are not addicted to it, gambling responsibly can be fun. I love playing blackjack, for example. I love betting on college football games. But I also agree with you in the sense that betting and sports betting has added another layer of stress and money into this mix that was already spiraling out of control.
Yes.
With NIL, with the NCAA becoming weaker and weaker every single year with every lawsuit that they lose.
And then you
and
also
TV contracts, man.
My biggest deal with sports betting though is just how much the networks are pushing it. Like you see people talking about spreads on TV. It's like I don't care about that. Like I care about the game.
Let me enlighten you on something, man. Sports betting is not pushing these networks. These networks are literally doing what the almighty dollar tells them what to do. Did you know that in the 1940s and the 1950s, when they made the earliest television shows, the TV networks that aired them did not own those shows?
It's fascinating.
They didn't. Soap operas are called soap operas because they were created and produced in studios owned by Johnson & Johnson. Television shows, like you would see game shows, like The Price is Right and other things like that, way back then were ran by companies like Coca-Cola, Winston Cigarettes, Marlboro, you name it. They sponsored the shows. So when you look at these sports shows like ESPN now, why do you think they're looping in the betting guys? Because now these betting companies have so much more money, they want to advertise their service above their competitors. What do? They go to ESPN and say, "Hey, I'll give you $1 billion to do a program on your channel where you talk about sports betting, and we'll put our name on it."
Yeah,
of course they'll take it.
Yeah, and it's money. Money really rules everything, and it's fascinating. And I. That's you're saying why you do it. That's really why I do it as well, because I've grown up a sports fan. I've never really, well, I did play sports. I played basketball until 6th grade, and I played baseball until I was like 3. The most points I ever scored in a basketball game was 5. I know nobody was asking that, but I had to say it. I did have like 1 3-pointer, but for the most part, I was terrible. But I've always been fascinated by sports. And college football, it's my favorite. I got to be honest. College football is my favorite. I can't.
It's big.
I mean, it's and what's great is eventually there will be a breaking point. And when that does hit, thankfully, fans will go away and there will be pushback. But for now, even with NIL, everyone was saying, well, college football is going to be ruined. It's not ruined yet. It could get to that point. It could, especially if Ohio leaves the MAC. That would be a terrible, terrible thing. But right now, it's still, the bands are still there. The traditions are still there. There is still some good.
Yeah.
You still have athletes who remain at schools, remain loyal. You have guys, and what's actually been good about the portal is you have guys who, say you're a guy at, Haynes King's a good example. He was at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
It didn't work out for him. I don't know if he left after Jimbo got fired. He may have. No, he didn't. Never mind. Because Jimbo was left in 23. But it didn't work out for him there. He goes to Tech, and he's able to find a place that works for him better. And so, in a way, the portal has sort of given some good. I'm not saying the portal is good, because there's so much craziness with it. But the portal has given some good things to college football. I hope we don't get to the point where the sport's a shell of what it once was. We might be on the path for that, because as you said, money is the genie of everything, really.
Let me put it like this. You're absolutely right about the transfer portal. It has its good things, which are players that back in the day when the transfer portal really didn't exist, they would be riding the bench their entire career and they would never see the field. And they would never get an opportunity to go play in the NFL or anything like that, right? That is the good thing about the transfer portal. Because now it does 2 things. It gives those players a chance to show their skills and really show out. And it also gives schools that would not have otherwise recruited this guy a chance to compete at a higher level. That's the biggest reason of them all why schools like Duke and Kansas are competing at a higher level now in football. It's because of utilizing the transfer portal and getting NIL involved to lure the best prospects they can over there. There's no secret as to why that's happening.
Yeah.
It's because of the portal. It's because of the NIL.
And
that's it.
Another thing about the portal is a lot of people were worried. It's like, oh my gosh, the group of 5 is going to die because of this. No. Because say you got a guy at a blue blood who's not playing, it gives teams in those lesser conference chances to get athletes.
Your best coaches in the group of 5 aren't chasing kids in high school anymore. They're doing stuff like what Kenny Dillingham is doing in Arizona State, where they just chase the transfer portal and they find a way to balance it with recruiting. Florida State is the example of how not to handle the transfer portal. Your entire team can get completely screwed over in a whole season after a massive drop-off in talent, and you just try to rebuild with the transfer portal and plug and play real fast. It doesn't work. You need to balance your recruiting with a good bit of transfers. Get a bunch of older guys in that have already been there, that have plenty of experience, mix them up with the new guys. That way the new guys that are there now can hopefully be enticed enough to stick around for 3 more years.
Mm-hmm. And it's, it's really, and, I really, it's, coaches get a lot of flack, and I mean they're paid enough to the point where they should, but I really respect college coaches today, especially in college football, college basketball, the sports where the portal is really active, because it's tougher now to be a college coach than it ever has been. I mean,
why did Nick Saban retire?
Yeah, I mean, it's why Nick Saban retired. I think Kirby's obviously going to be on the map for a long time. I think he's got it managed. I'm interested to see what happens with Dabo, but you look at why Nick Saban retired. You look at why Mac Brown really wasn't able to stay at UNC. You look at, there's another old coach, Coach K in college basketball. You look at that. Who else? Oh, screw college basketball. Like half of the ACC. Forget Coach K. You got like all the legendary coaches: Leonard Hamilton, Roy Williams, Tony Bennett, retired out of nowhere last year.
It's a massive purge of the old guard.
Yes.
That's what it's caused.
If people have wanted to know, I know we're mainly talking about college football, but when people ask why is the ACC having a down period in basketball, it's because the old guard is gone. They're out of there. I mean,
literally, they all vanished within 2 years.
Yeah, and so it's, that's really why I do it. It's just, college sports is changing, and then also because I love my team. I've always loved Tech, and I want to, I make Tech Central content just because I want Tech to have a voice, and I don't know, I'm not saying that voice should be me, but I want them to have someone who's a fan, but also kind of a journalist. Like like a journalist, but not someone who is too like stuck up to not like do different things and stuff like that. And so it's really funny enough. The moment I had the idea to start Ramble was the moment UGA won the national title in 22. Tech was, but more because Tech was 3-9, and it was really just an all-time low. In not all time, but more for me in my lifetime being a Tech fan, and it's like, I have free time because I was a sophomore in high school. I ought to do something about this, or at least try to. And so that's sort of how I started. You're more about general college football, which I love.
I cover everybody. Nobody is safe with my channel. Not even my own team. I just got done roasting the Buckeyes from the 90s. I can't say much about the Tressel years. Well, maybe I could go into tattoo game, but I'm not going to right now.
Well, I'll be critical, Like if Tech loses, I'm not going to whitewash anything. But and I love what you've done. Really, with it's clear you put so much effort into things, and I respect the hell out of you for it.
Appreciate that.
And so we're up on about an hour and a half. I think this is a good stopping point. I hope everyone out here has enjoyed this conversation. I'm going to link Red's channel in the description. Please check it out. He does such a good job at what he does. If you're new here, subscribe to my channel. And of course, most people who come here from the Instagram anyways. I'm going to assume they follow that. But if you don't, the link is in my I think my about section or whatever. It's on the banner. I don't often do YouTube, it's my secondary thing. But thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of The Steam Whistle. Thanks again to Red for using his time to come out here and have this conversation with me. I say come out here, but you know what I meant. All right. Thank you, everybody.
I'm trying to go down to Georgia one of these days, though, I will.
All right. Thank you, and I hope everyone has a great day. We are officially 50 days from Tech's kickoff in Colorado. I should have said that earlier, but we're 50 days out. I do plan on having new episodes soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening.